Hey students, Mrs. Dukoski here. So this is your asynchronous lesson for today. I do hope that our live session works and we can do some of this live. But again, in case it doesn't, or in case there's not an opportunity for you to be live today, this is your asynchronous lesson. So just a quick reminder, whatever class you're in, to continue to check Schoology for updates. I will be posting all updates on X days in the update section. If you look at the right on Schoology, it's, one of your tabs is updates. And I will also send the update in a message to your class. A lot of students last year said they would get so many updates that they would get lost. So I will be messaging you your updates as well. So be on the lookout on X days for your English class updates and be attentive to any due dates that you might have. We'll have some due dates for the different classes coming up. And again, it's going to depend on what class you're in. So be aware and keep an eye out and message me if you have any questions. Or you can ask if we are having successful live sessions. Feel free to ask those questions in our live session. All right, so here we are, another day in our remote learning environment, and I hope that you're doing well out there. Today we're going to talk about journaling. So you need a journal. So if you need to pause to get even just a piece of paper for today, but I'm going to be asking you to journal every X day, and if you love the practice, it's a very healthy practice, and I'll share some of the evidence. I have some resources that kind of explain more about the practice of healthy journaling. If you love it, feel free to do it more than in English class. I love journaling. I have a daily journaling practice, or I try to have a daily journaling practice. And I hope that this is a space where you can feel able to express yourself a little bit. And I will do journal checks. I'm not going to read anything unless you want me to. I just want to see that you're keeping a journal. So I'll ask you to occasionally show me your journal, and I'll do journal checks, and that should be an easy homework grade for you, as long, again, as you're keeping a journal. And if you want to share stuff with me, great. If not, I do just want to see the evidence that you have a journal, spot for a journal, and you're keeping it regularly. So with that said, today we're going to take a little time to talk about our journaling process. So there will be time every X day to do journaling, and I'm going to suggest to you some ideas for your journaling practice. So I'll post those on Schoology as well, but I want to just take a few minutes to go over it with you so that you can hear me explaining it too. And again, feel free to reach out to me with questions about the journaling practice, because that's what this lesson is all about. So I'm going to share my screen, and I really do hope that you're all doing well out there. All right, I'm kind of excited about this new school year. I know it's different, but different isn't always bad. There's probably going to be some good, fun things about this year too, even if it is different and unfamiliar. So with that said, here is our Let's Journal Together. So I'll post this on Schoology so you can look through it on your own, but all about journaling in English class. We're going to take a look at this. So we are going to journal together every X day. That's how we'll start our time together. It's your space. Occasionally, I will ask you to show me your journal. Again, I'll just look to see if you're keeping one. As long as you're keeping it, you'll receive 100 for a homework grade during our journal checks. And I'll warn you about them. I won't just pop them on you. I'll say we're going to do journal checks this week, so be available for that. Journaling is intended to be your personal creative space. You may write, you may draw, or maybe use some other form of expression that you can put into your journal. So feel free to, you make it you. If you're putting your honest thoughts and feelings onto the page, then you're keeping a successful journal. Allow this to be a space for you to get to know yourself a little bit more every time you journal. I will offer journaling prompts, but you always have the choice to write whatever it is that you need to express. So be now, be you, be inspired. There's this idea I want to talk about, and we're going to try to tap into it a lot this year, and also in our journaling practice. It's called mindfulness. So being mindful is paying purposeful attention to what's here, what's now, in the present moment without judgment. So a lot of times we're very distracted, and maybe we've had the opportunity in our, self-isolation to be a little less distracted and be what's called present, where you're able to pay attention to what's going on in each moment. I know, and I'm outside right now, maybe you can hear it. I've had the benefit and the joy of being able to be outside a lot and really paying attention to the world around me. It's special. It's unique when you get to do that. So mindfulness is part of that. Paying attention to yourself, paying attention to your space, paying attention to what's going on around you externally, and then looking within at your own self. So having that combination so you can have these like this greater self-awareness in time and space. It's going to allow you to have like a fuller life. So we do this journaling practice. It's part of what I call a be now instead of a do now. So it's again a way for us to just create like the time to be here right now. So when you start taking a look through written expression or through your journaling expressions and allowing yourself the space to be here now with your feelings and examining what's going on, that's a way to be mindful. And I'm going to call it a be now. And if we can do that, it allows us the space to then approach our other learning because we've been able to connect with this moment and we're not as distracted as maybe we were before we came into our class. So the idea is that it allows you to be focused and it allows you to sort of like tap into whatever it is that's been on your mind or distracting you externally so that you can then sort of clear the slate and be ready for new learning. So it's good practice and it's something that we have to keep coming back to because really every moment presents us with like distractions from what it is that we would like to get done. So we just have to be aware of these things. So today we're going to do our first journal reflection. And again, you hopefully have a notebook and that should be your intention. If you don't have a designated journal place, get one, some kind of notebook. It doesn't have to be fancy. Space just for our journaling practice. And today, if you don't have that, you're welcome to just grab a piece of paper. So if you need to take a pause to do that, then get yourself set up. Having a nice learning space, being ready in a space where you can do your work is also important. So if you feel like you're not in a space that's conducive for you learning and knowing you're gonna have to sit down and do some journaling and kind of get into your own thoughts, then pause and find that space because you're just going to be more successful if you set up a space for yourself that allows you the opportunity to do this type of learning. So please pause at any point if you need to. So before we start, we are going to take a couple breaths together to clear our mind. So long, deep breaths are always best. And there's a lot of science around this, the science of emotions and the science of breath. The idea is that it takes 90 seconds for your body to process an emotion. So I've actually done the timing of it. That's the equivalent of 8 deep breaths for me. So before we start our journaling practice, I think it's a good time to just sort of sit somewhere or stand if you prefer standing and take like 8 good deep breaths and process where you are in your moment, knowing that it does take your body a little bit of time to like register everything that you're thinking and feeling. And sometimes we don't allow that space. We just hop from one thing to the next. So before we get into our journaling, take a few moments and I'll pause. I'll time it for you, right? I'll pause to take 90 seconds of taking breath. I'll stop my share. So here I am. And when you take breath, you want to inhale through your nose and your belly and your chest should expand out. And when you exhale, you're going to exhale through your nose too. And your belly and your chest are going to draw back. All right. So just that practice alone is going to help you connect with yourself and with your center. And you can do this anywhere where you're feeling like, I need to center myself. I'm, feeling a loss of control and you just need to regain some control. Connecting to your breath, and if you put pressure on your chest and your belly, this kind of tells your nervous system there's points in your nervous system that, you know, if you put some pressure on them, it allows your body to start sort of doing some of that work for you. So again, putting some palm on your chest, and if you can see my belly, a palm on your belly. So when I'm kind of pressing in a little bit, I'm not hurting myself, but I am putting some pressure. So then when I inhale, my belly is going to expand out like a balloon, and then it even gets into my chest, and sometimes I feel it at the back of my throat, a good deep breath, and then I'll exhale, and the exhale, my chest drops back, and then my belly pulls in, and I want to exhale all of my breath out. So try 8 of those. I'm going to time you. It's okay to notice if you're feeling funny about doing it. Maybe you're a pro at this, or maybe it's the first time you've taken notice of the breath that you have in your body. It is a good way to center yourself, though. So really getting into your breath, noticing any thoughts or feelings you might be having. Even if it's, I feel a little silly, that's a feeling. And then you've connected with yourself. So I'm on like 6. All right, that was my 8th breath. And I do feel connected to myself. It's like I'm really giving myself that opportunity to like get into my physical body, integration, right? Of like just pulling myself in before I start reflecting about big things in my journal. So I hope that that helped you. And I will cue you to do that within our class. And I think it is a great, healthy practice. And I'll give you some resources so that you can, you know, if you want to do some more reading about the benefits of it, breathing and breath work and centering yourself through it, I'll put that out there because it has been a really beneficial practice for me, especially in times when you're feeling stress. You can do it anywhere. You can insert 8 deep breaths anywhere you are. It's always there with you. It's the quickest way to feel some balance. And same thing with those pressure points on your belly and chest. With your breath, that's like key for me. All right, so we have our breath. Now here's our journaling prompt. So there's this whole concept. It's called notice it, name it, be with it, just breathe. And this is a practice where you're noticing yourself, and then you're naming what it is that you're feeling, and then you're kind of allowing it to be there without judgment, right? Without that, oh gosh, I'm being so hard on myself. You're just noticing it kind of as an observer. And then you can breathe and just be there in that space. And practicing that really is a wonderful benefit to us. And then that is how we get into our writing. And it's an authentic piece of writing because I'm really taking the time and space to like examine myself before I jump in and just start writing. So we'll practice it together. So practicing this, notice it, notice how you're feeling. Yeah, your emotions. Notice any thought crossing your mind. Notice what sounds you might be hearing. I've got beautiful crickets all around me buzzing. I don't know if you can hear them, but they're lovely. And I've got somebody's weed whacker in the way background and a breeze. So I hope that you've got some sounds. And then noticing where your attention is right now and sort of like taking stock of what's going on around us and tapping into our senses. That imagery is a great way to start noticing. And then in terms of like the external noticing, you can tap into your senses, but then we have our internal, you know, what's going on inside of us that we can't be afraid to dig into. So if you're unsure about your emotions, all right, no judgment there, but let's become emotion scientists because that's going to help you to be a fuller, more complete person. So if you're not sure about what your emotions look like or what all the emotions are, you're not alone. I put a list of emotions out. So you might want to take a minute to pause and get into this list of emotions and know that they are all emotions that every single person has. It's like ingrained in us, right? So take a look, and these are, just a list of some of the emotions that might like be the most obvious. I don't think it's a complete list, but noticing if these are any emotions that you've been feeling, you are feeling now, or feel regularly. And just without judgment, recognizing that these are emotions that you have, and naming them is really important to start distinguishing the difference between angry and annoyed. All right, there are differences, or frustrated and furious, right? And start really like getting to know yourself and what your triggers are too. Right, so that's your list of emotions. Pick one, or maybe you have a couple going on right now. Name it, pick it off the list. And then after we name it, we're going to be with it. We're going to sit with it for a minute and breathe. If you would like to insert 8 deep breaths, you can pause. See what happens after you name your emotion and breathe 8 breaths. For me, sometimes I kind of like feel almost like a flush, a rush of blood through my circulation as I process my emotion in this time and space, instead of not acknowledging it. All right, and then letting it like fester somewhere. It's so important to try to acknowledge our emotions as we're having them. And again, it takes our body a little time maybe to catch up with our mind. So after you name your emotion, don't be surprised if you're not feeling anything immediately. It might take at least 90 seconds for your body to trigger a response. This is all science, right? All right. So with that, you've noticed yourself, you've named an emotion. Now we're going to reflect. So now we're going to take time to go into our journal, and we're going to try to name our emotion. So again, you've got your list of them. Write it down. Write down, maybe there's more than one. Maybe you've got a rainbow of emotions right now. So write them down, or at least pick one without judgment. And then we're gonna do some writing. All right. So we're going to just write down what we've noticed, what feeling we happen to be having, what's going on around us. Is there anything that may have triggered that feeling? Is that feeling strong? Is it something that passes quickly? Maybe it's fleeting. Just noticing, and then noticing if any other feelings come up as you begin writing. So if you want to hit pause on this video, I think it's good practice to journal, like put your pen to the page and try not to stop for at least 5 minutes. So I'll stop my share. So I would recommend, and if you can go longer than 5 minutes, great, but I would recommend pausing and taking the space to go through that journaling process that I just described and write. And there's no right or wrong here. It's just you expressing yourself. Maybe you're drawing, all right? So take time to pause. I'm also in the YouTube description gonna post like just a playlist. I like to sometimes write to music. So I'll put a little like writing playlist. There's different types of sounds that sort of help our brain to get into like thinking mode. So I'll put a little playlist that I like to use when I'm in study mode, if you want to use that. And then, just take a good 5 minutes or so to write, and then you can come back to this video and we'll wrap up our lesson. Right, and enjoy it. And like, again, there's no right or wrong here. It's just you being in a space right now where you're writing and expressing yourself and getting used to feeling what that's like. All right, so take time to do that. Welcome back. So hopefully you took a good 5 minutes to get into your journal space. If not more, maybe you got into it. Maybe you were just letting it flow. Some days it's easier than others. But after writing, you also need to take a little space before you jump into whatever your next activity is. Just be with it. You just build some stuff out onto a page. All right, that's cathartic. That's an experience that you did a good thing for yourself. All right. So this is you taking good care of yourself, but don't neglect the fact that you might just need to let it sit for a few minutes. So take a few minutes to close your journal and just, put the pen down and breathe and look around again. Maybe pause your music, notice your surroundings, recognize if anything came up for you in that journal experience, if it was easy, if it was challenging. Just be where you are with it. And again, knowing that this is such a benefit to you. So if when you're done with our practice, you want to read a couple little articles that I've attached here about the benefits of journaling, there are some great benefits of keeping a regular journaling practice, and I hope that you start experiencing some of those. Maybe you're a journaler already, and this is just like a great opportunity embedded into our class for you to be with a practice that you've already got. But if you're not, in the habit of regularly journaling, and you're curious about it, check out these two sources here under journaling benefits for more information. And also feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. So I'm going to stop my share. So that was your first journaling experience. I just really wanted to walk you through it in this asynchronous video and know that, there are days where journaling's easy. There are days where I'm like, I just don't want to do it. But those are the days that I probably need to do it the most. And it's a great practice for you. So if you have any questions, reach out to me. It's something that we will be doing on X days. So if you don't have a space for it, please grab a little, some kind of journal so that you can be prepared when we have our English classes on X days. And again, keep up with Schoology. I'll post other, links there, hand-ins, that kind of thing, as we have assignments that come up that you need to turn in. And I'm excited to work with you. I can't wait to meet you and see you, hopefully like in real life at some point in time, but otherwise just, through these virtual sessions. So be well out there and take care. All right, see you later.